upcoming?
A couple things. Homework. I am missing a few people, but I do have a homework shout out for Elijah and Tempa. Elijah gets a shout out because he was talking about Romeo's love towards Mercutio, which I don't think anyone else has spoken about in their answers. And a shout out to Tempa for talking about Juliet's love towards her cousin and that dynamic between Juliet's love towards the cousin and Romeo. So both of you can change your background if you would like to. I see questions. Bryant, your question?
Later, like at 4 o'clock, can you tell me how to log into Jupiter? Because my mom didn't check the Jupiter. That's why I didn't know that we were getting the links from Jupiter. I was confused whether we were getting the homework.
I'll be on Zoom. Call me at 4.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Jamie.
I forgot. So Mercutio is Romeo's cousin, right?
Who knows this answer? Who is Mercutio? Darylise, who is he? Unmute yourself.
Mercutio is his best friend. What is it? Yeah, his best friend.
Oh, okay.
And Sanai, what's up?
Can you read out the people's homework that you have and that you don't have so we can know
if
you have ours?
I can read you. I have almost everyone's. I'm going to just share out the homework that I don't have. So Bryant, Jason, Sir, Rachel was absent, Binta, Amira, and Amari. So if your name Can you hear me? Yeah, sorry, I think you're muted for a second. So I wanted to talk about the theme from 12th Night, which is love as a cause of suffering, and the theme of love's forcefulness in Romeo and Juliet and how they compare and contrast. So let's think about way back to 12th Night, how we have the theme of love, but it was a theme of love presented in a different way. Who can tell me how love as a cause of suffering affected the people or the characters in our text in 12th Night? How does love as a cause of suffering affect our characters in 12th Night? Marcus.
Love was an effective cause of suffering because when they caused themselves to change so that they could look like a different person to like another man or another woman. For example, I think Olivia liked the Duke, and so because she liked the Duke, that she had problems with problems with the person that liked her, and
Okay.
And that's all I have for now.
Okay. Jamie, what are you disagreeing with?
I'm disagreeing with the fact he said.
Jamie, before you answer my question, sit up so I can see your face.
I'm disagreeing.
And get out of the blanket and sit up like you're in school.
I'm not in the blanket.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm disagreeing with the fact where he said that Olivia liked the Duke because she didn't. She liked Viola just as Cesario. And I was gonna say, I think in 12th Night, we see that love is kind of like blurry in 12th Night, and we get how love makes people suffer because of their feelings toward each other. But in this Romeo and Juliet, we get how love causes different things to happen. So it's like clear. It's clear, but it doesn't end up well for the characters.
Okay, so show me if you agree or disagree with the statement. Both plays have love leading to suffering. Agree or disagree? Both plays have love leading to suffering. I need to see everyone's agree or disagree right now. If I don't see it, that's a problem. Rachel, I don't know what that means. And okay, so characters are suffering the same amount in Romeo and Juliet and Twelfth Night. Agree or disagree? Characters are suffering the same amount in Romeo and Juliet as they did in Twelfth Night. Disagree. Okay, Peace, tell me why that is incorrect. Why are the characters not suffering the same amount? Unmute yourself first. Peace, I'll come back to you. I don't know why your audio is not working. Sinai, also unmute yourself. I can't unmute you. I still can't unmute you. I don't know why. Let's try Emma. I can't unmute you either. What's going on? Okay, try now, Sinai. To unmute yourself. It's not working. Okay, Brian.
All right, so I think that the characters in Romeo and Juliet are suffering more. Actually, wait, we're talking about how love leads to suffering.
How are the characters suffering because of love more in Romeo and Juliet than in Twelfth Night?
Oh.
Why are they suffering more in Romeo and Juliet? Hassan, help us out.
They're suffering more in Romeo and Juliet because they're actually like about to kill themselves because of love. Like Romeo, he thought that that banishment was either worse or even the same as death because of love. But in 12th Night, they weren't gonna kill themselves for it. They were just like trying to actually love each other, but when they didn't, they just decided not to do anything.
Okay, and then think about how the genres of the two plays are a little different. So we have Twelfth Night, which is what? What is Twelfth Night? What type of genre does Twelfth Night fall under? Lawrence, unmute yourself. I can't unmute you. Okay, what genre does Twelfth Night fall under?
The genre that Twelfth Night falls under is like
Is it a tragedy?
It's kind of like a tragedy, like drama.
Okay, it's drama, but what kind of drama? Tempa, unmute yourself. I can't unmute you.
It's a comedy.
It's a comedy. So Romeo and Juliet is a what? Tempa.
Tragedy.
Tragedy. So one is a comedy and one is a tragedy. So given that, why do you think love is presented in these two different ways? Why do you think the suffering of love is presented in two different ways? How does one being a comedy and one being a tragedy change the way love is presented in these texts? How does it change? Josh, I can't unmute you.
Okay. You said I'm getting on Zoom on my computer, so can I answer it right now?
Yeah.
On the computer. Okay.
And Josh, I'll come back to you. In the meantime, Brian.
All right, so I feel like it's different. I feel like it's different on both, in comedy and tragedy, because I feel like it can be perceived in two different ways. Sometimes love can be something like a, I'm not gonna say like a joke, but like, so it can be taken as that. Sometimes like it can be funny sometimes. And then with Romeo and Juliet, I feel like love can be a tragedy where like people died because of this. Like people will feel really hurt. So like maybe it's like something like that. I don't know.
Okay. Who can help out Bryant? Josh, we're coming back to you. Go ahead.
Okay. I said that. Well, knowing that Twelfth Night is a comedy and that Romeo and Juliet is tragedy, I think Shakespeare is trying to comment on like how like society influences people's love, because like right now in or Romeo and Juliet, they're influenced by like the feud between their families, but then in Twelfth Night, like Viola is like she's in a kingdom and she
Okay,
has to
but
serve.
go ahead, finish your thought.
No, that's it. That's all I
Okay.
have.
I think what you're doing is you're digging too deeply into what is actually happening scene by scene. What I want you to do is think broad. Why would Shakespeare decide that his comedy would present love in this way and his tragedy would present love in a different way? Why would he choose to do that, Elijah?
Can you repeat your question?
Who heard my question? Receive, go ahead.
What the difference? Shakespeare chose to present it in a different way in Romeo and Juliet because he added he added he added forbidden love in Romeo and Juliet, but in what do you call it, in Twelfth Night, it's just love, but it's
Yeah.
not noticed, and yeah.
Well, love is noticed, right? Love is a big part of it. But yeah, he decided to add this piece of forbidden love in Romeo and Juliet, right? What's the tone that we have when we're reading 12th Night? What's the tone? Think back even to the iterations we saw of it. Think back to that movie that we saw of it. What's the tone of that, Elijah?
Wow, the tone of that was kind of like comedic.
Comedic. Okay. And what's the tone that you get when you're reading scenes from Romeo and Juliet, Elijah?
I'm not sure.
What's the tone we get? Michelle. So we get a comedic tone from 12th Night. What's the sort of tone we get when we're reading scenes from Romeo and Juliet?
Sad.
Sad. What else? What else? Besides sad, what else are we feeling? Vincent. Yeah, there you go.
I kind of think like it's dark because a lot of people are dying.
Dark. Yeah. What else? What else? Think about craft moves he uses. We already know what's going to happen, but what sort of craft moves are being used to suggest that something dark is going to happen? I just gave it away. If you were listening carefully, everyone's hand should be up. What craft move did Shakespeare use to suggest that something bad is coming? Yes, Rachel, what is it? Unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing, right? He foreshadows darkness. He foreshadows impending doom. So let's continue to think about that as we're reading the text and how it compares to the different ways Shakespeare presents this information. Great, Omar, I just got your message. I want to talk a little bit about the way the time period impacts our play. How does the fact that this is set in 14th and 15th century Verona impact our play? How does it impact it? Omari.
Can you please repeat the question? You're kind of lagging.
How does the setting being in 14th and 15th century Verona impact our play?
Oh, it impacts our play because like the way the characters act would be different. Like for example, right now, if I were to get rejected, it wouldn't be that serious. But Romeo, like he has his love back then is like really, really, really important to him and his family.
Okay. What else? Sinai, unmute yourself.
So, Amari, I kind of agree about what you were saying about like him getting rejected, but I don't really think that impacts like this. I don't really think the setting impacts that. I would say more like of like the battle and like the battle that's going on between the Montagues and the Capulets. So like if they were to go to like battle and start fighting, they would use like certain stuff that we don't use nowadays, like swords and all type of different weapons that we wouldn't use. Like nowadays we use like knives and guns and stuff. So yeah.
Okay,
Like
so the battle itself. Tierno, unmute yourself and tell us how our setting impacts our play. Okay, that's not working. Peace. Unmute yourself and tell us.
Okay, now it works.
Yes.
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
How does setting impact our play? So Mari said that the way it impacts it is that love is different, right? That if this were to happen if Amari was Romeo, he would just keep it moving. Okay. And Sinai said that they use different weapons for battle.
I think setting impact. I think I kind of like agree more on Mars side because I feel like the setting impacts the character, and basically like the setting, like because of the setting of the Romeo and Juliet. Easy. Yeah, I'm kind of confused. I don't really know an answer.
Okay. Omar. Read out your answer that you gave me.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Omar.
You're glitching. I can't hear you. Can you repeat?
You answered the question already. Can you read your answer out loud?
Oh, the answer I put is that Romeo and Juliet would never have been together because Romeo's some 18 and older and Juliet's only 13. Today that would never happen.
Yeah, so I agreed. They would be in jail by now, right? You can't, young marriage is not really a thing that happens in our Western society anymore, right? There's one other thing that's happening here that I don't think anyone's really touched upon that's inspired by our setting. There's actually a couple. Rachel. Yeah. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So maybe the way they act, it wouldn't be as dramatic.
But is there dramatic behavior a result of the time or a result of this being a play?
Result of it being a play.
Yeah, so what's something else that's impacted? So like young love is one, what else? Weapons is another. Emma? I don't know why I can't unmute you. Can you mute yourself, Emma? No, great. Ariane, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah. I was thinking one of them was whether they communicate because we see since it was back then they didn't really have telephones, so they had to use the nerves.
Yeah, that's another big one, and we especially saw that when Romeo was getting the message from a messenger that he's going to have to fight Tybalt. I have a couple other things that I want you guys to be mindful of when we're reading this. So, the names of the families. Who are the two sides again, Hassan?
Montagues and Capulets, but I have one more thing.
Okay.
I would say the punishment of banishment. That's not something that would happen today.
Yeah, it's not. So Montagues and Capulets. Jamie, yes.
Yeah, just finally. I also wanted to say there's kings, there's queens, there's
Yeah.
duels, and there's nurses in every household. Like those
Yeah.
wouldn't have today. So like the whole storyline would change.
A lot of the storyline would change, I agree. So there's the Montague and the Capulets, and this is actually based on the names of families that were political factions in Italy at the time. So they were basically the names of small groups of larger political parties in Italy called Montici and Capuletti, and that's where Montague and Capulet came from, okay? And the important thing to know about this is that not only were they different political parties, but at the time this was written, they were also warring political parties. What do I mean by warring political parties? What does that mean, warring? What does warring mean? Elijah?
I think it means opposing.
Opposing or fighting, right? Literally warring. So they were fighting political parties in Italy at the time. The other thing is that this story is based on other stories that have been created in the form of novellas. What is a novella? Everyone should know this because we read one. What is a novella? What is a novella? Tempa. You have to unmute yourself. I don't know why I can't unmute you today.
It's basic. It's basically a small book.
Yeah. It's a small book. And so this is based on a small book that was around in Italy at the time that was then turned into a drama. And the last thing is that there was a plague in Verona at the time that this was written. There was a plague in Verona at the time that this was written. How do you think that influenced our drama based on what we've read so far? How do you think that influenced our play? How would a plague influence our storyline? Hassan.
The plague would have influenced the storyline because it would have affected the characters. Like now, like Jamie said, there's a nurse in every household. And also the nurse is really important in this drama because Juliet uses her as a messenger. So without her, Romeo wouldn't even be getting all those messages, and Juliet wouldn't either.
Beautiful answer. You can change your background for that. Amira, thoughts?
No.
Yeah, there you go.
You said what I was gonna say, so.
Okay. Any other thoughts about how we think a plague would have influenced this? Go ahead, Omar.
A play will have influences if you think about it, because they give us like in-depth look about how characters are feeling, their actions, and what they are doing. So I think that it does affect it.
Okay.
Or like at least the way we understand it.
Yeah, sure. What else? What else? Let's get one more thought on this. Jamie.
This is kind of a stretch, but I think since we get the information in the beginning that there's two different sides, and we see that on each side there's like a group of people walking together, and I think if there wasn't a plague, there wouldn't be so much people bundled up on each side. Yeah, especially when we get the scene at the beginning where they fight. We have Romeo and so who's there, and then the Capulets and so who's also there.
Okay, great. And I want to take the last few moments of class letting you get a head start on homework because we were able to get through our material pretty quickly today. What you're going to be doing is answering the following questions. I'm going to send you the Nearpod post right now. Everyone should have this link at this point. Your question is on there. The code, someone write it for me in the chat, is JMLPZ. JMLPZ. For those of you who are not able to access Nearpod, I'm sending you the question right now in the chat. Take this time to write it down. I know a lot of us don't have access to the Google Drive or their own email, so just write it down now so that you can write it out in a piece of paper and then take a picture and send it to me. Read over the question, and then in 30 seconds, let's come back and discuss how we would answer the question. How would we answer this question? What are the steps we take? Jalen, can you unmute yourself and tell us how you will answer this question, the steps you'll take? I think I got it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. The way I think I would answer this question is, well, one, I would go back into the text to find the quotes, and two, I would make a paragraph for each quote and saying, so like the first one is a friar of hyperbole. So I would go back into the text and find out where that is, so I can see how it impacts the text and see if I read that scene without that quote, what would change? Like, how would my understanding change?
Excellent. So Jalen's method is to see how her understanding or how the scene would change without the quote. I think that's a great way to understand the importance of that quote. How would your understanding of the text change without this quote? That's what I want you to think about when you're answering this question. I should see complete 7th grade answers for each. Now that I'm seeing that we all have ways to get homework to me, I'm expecting answers to be full and thorough. If you are confused, you have the means to reach out to me. You will also be reading Act 4, Scenes 1 and 2. I'm also going to put that in the chat so everyone has it. Act 4, Scene 1 and 2. If there are questions about this, ask now that you have the time. Otherwise, start working on these journal questions. Receive, you have a question?
No.
Okay. I also have homework from someone who posted the following. If this was your answer, just chat me so that I know it was yours, because I don't know whose this was. And I'm just going to read off very quickly everyone's answer that I do have from yesterday's homework. So I have Omar, Shakaya, Joelise, Michelle, Alexis, Marcus, Emma, Darelise, Hassan, Tierno, Sienna, Vincent, Rasim, Peace, Lawrence, Jalen, Josh, Carlito, Ariani, Jamie, Tampa, and Sinai. If your name wasn't called, I did not receive your homework. Amari, I just need to scroll up to what you sent me. Okay. Yes, you can do that, Amari.
Okay, I'm sending it right now.
Okay. No one wants to claim this answer? No one answered this? Yes, Elijah.
My name wasn't called.
That means I didn't get it. Oh no, I did get it. Sorry. You were the homework shadow. Sorry. You're on it. Amari, did you sign it?
Can you please send me your number again? I don't think I have it or saved it.
Yes. Marcus,
Yeah?
did you have a question?
No. I'm
So
good.
why are you unmuted?
I don't know. It was like
Great.
that.
Okay. Okay. So I have an answer from Sienna for today's work and Michelle and Tempa. And I see Rasim, Emma, Michelle, Joelise, Rachel, Hassan, Alexis, Amari, Peace, Tierno, Carlos, Jamie, Jalen, Josh, Darelise, Omar, Bryant, Marcus, Alexis, Elijah, Shakaya, and Lawrence all have made Nearpod accounts for this question. Someone is using the code again to answer the question. I cannot give you credit for that because I don't know who it is.
Miss Patel.
Yes.
When it says wait, it says even flies are better than Romeo, off than Romeo. Does it mean like literally bugs?
I want you to analyze it in the best way you can, and then I'll share an exemplar answer on Monday.
Okay.
But think about the symbolism behind it, right? We're not just literally going to interpret it in the way that it's written. We're always going to think about the symbolism behind something like that. Oh, Amira, I didn't recognize that was you. Now that I know that you are complete for last night's homework, I just didn't know that was your username. Mari, why did you text me yes, sir? Or message me yes, sir?
I didn't. It says from Juhi Patel to me, and it says yes, sir. That's why I said what you mean. I don't know why it says that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, Marcus, what's up?
I finished. I
Great,
just
so you can get started on the reading because you have to read scenes 1 and 2.
all right.
Thank you. Tierno, yes, I did. All right, everyone is gonna get off Nearpod now and come back. Marcus, you can just Google Romeo and Juliet online and then look at No Fear Shakespeare and you'll find it. You'll find the whole play on that. Carlos, come back. Okay, so you're now going to be transitioning into history. Remind me again what your homework is for Monday, Ariane.
Oh, your homework for Monday is to answer the question on Nearpod and to read scene. I think it was scene 4 to 6, I believe.
It's going to be scene 1 and 2, Act 4. Act 4, scene 1 and 2, and you're answering the question on Nearpod. I will also send it out on Jupiter, and I will see you guys later in writing. Goodbye.